right, we are here in my tiny traveling worm bin, and lately what we've been doing is a migration. We have been trying to get the worms to go from this area where we have castings over to here. And the question that we're going to try and solve today is, should we just harvest all of this and just have the full restart of the bin go, or should we kind of bring it over a little bit more and keep the castings going to get the worms out of what is in here? Now, it has been 31 days since we were in here last, and I've actually been in here 3 times for 3 separate additions of food over here and to scrape out the castings on this side and kind of jostle it around to see if there are any worms there. By doing that, I've already harvested some and I've made it smaller area here for the worms to be in. So along with the food we put in here, we also continue to add shredded cardboard and some other bedding because we did take this on a road trip up the East Coast. So let's talk about how this thing got started about 32 days ago when we checked on the migration the last time. Now for that last feeding 32 days ago, we ripped up cardboard from the last barrier and then we added in a lot of damp shredded cardboard. For food scraps, we added in an apple core, a cucumber slice, and a large section of cucumber, along with an assortment of sliced carrots and strawberry tops and some banana peel pieces. Then we put in our amendments of worm chow, coffee grounds, and eggshell grit, followed by more damp shredded cardboard. Now 15 days after that, we did our first migration, and there were lots of worms still in the castings, but there seemed to be at least the same amount in the migration zone. The only food that was left seemed to be a cucumber peel. So we fed various foods from our trip up the East Coast to include a couple of apple cores and napkins, followed by coffee grounds from a few disposable Keurig cups, as well as banana peels. And that was a fun trip for us because we got to see one of our really good friends promoted to Brigadier General, and we also got to see my brother-in-law take command of a fighter wing. So 4 days after that, we had our second migration. When we checked in, we scraped off the top of the castings until we got down to worms, and then we mixed them up to aerate the castings and to kind of motivate the worms to move over. The castings seemed to be getting a little less moist, and there seemed to be fewer worms than the last time we were in here. Migration zone had a lot more worms, and there were some of the banana peels we fed still in there, along with the 2 apple cores full of mites. This time we fed them 2 lettuce stalks, a napkin, and a bunch of strawberry tops. And then on our third migration check-in, 4 days after that, there were very few worms in the casting zone, and there were lots of worms in the migration zone, but they still didn't finish the apple cores. We gave them a little broccoli stalk, a piece of sliced banana, and some more strawberry tops, and topped it off with dry shredded bedding that we then soaked with a spray bottle. So I think what I'll do first is just kind of move this over as well as I can, and let's check out this side to see if there are any worms in here. And if there's not, we can just pull this up, but so far so good. You know what? I'm going to get my little yellow container and let's put some of these castings in it. So here's the castings from the last 3 migration check-ins, and I'm just going to kind of pull these up and put them in. Real quick, as I'm doing this, I'm not finding too many worms. So I think what I'm going to do is just kind of mix this around and see if I find any more worms. And there's the second one I found. Let me just keep going here. I've got one little one right here. Let's keep going. That's not bad. 3 little worms. So they've done a pretty good job. Oh, here's 4 and much bigger. One over here is 5. I didn't want to turn this into a counting video. 6, but let's keep looking. I think I got them all. Maybe some over here that I can't really see real well. Oh, there's a big fat one right there. So some of the adult fatties look like they have enjoyed these wet castings, but I think we can call this migration done. In fact, I think that's what I'm going to do. What do you think, executive producer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Okay, good. I'm just going to take the time real quick to get the rest of these castings out, and let's start a new iteration of this worm bin.
Easiest restart ever.
Yeah, that was an easy restart, especially since we're not counting or any of that kind of good stuff. That was awesome. Like the executive producer just said, that was probably the easiest restart we have ever done in this worm bin, because usually we count them out and then we do an initial restart from scratch with brand new bedding, etc. So this has been fantastic. So now I think we can just leave this in here. Look at that. They went right through there between the moisture and the microbes and all that kind of good stuff. They really took care of that barrier. So let me just rip this up real quick. And I like doing this because all the microbes from the bin, aren't going out with the castings. The worms have brought them over and some of their castings are still in here, and they are just helping to inoculate this bin without having some of the, startup delays that we have. And they've already been making castings on this side, so that is absolutely fantastic. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle this around and kind of pull the stuff over here. Now, every time we restarted this bin, when we counted them out, we always got somewhere around 1,000 worms. So the carrying capacity of this bin is probably 1,000 worms, meaning that no matter what, the worms are not going to, overpopulate and then kill themselves off with all their waste. They are just going to get to 1,000 plus or minus, and as more die, more will reproduce. So this is looking really good. And just real quick for measurement, this is about the size of a tall men's size 12 shoe. It is a very tiny bin. I think it is advertised as like maybe a 3-gallon, but as you can see, it's less than halfway full. So we probably have about 1.5 gallons of material here. So let's look at what was left. It looks like banana peel. Let's see if I see any of those apple cores that we put in here. They've really done a good job on it. Pretty happy with what I'm seeing here, and good massive worms. This right here looked like it was at the edge of that barrier, and just lots of beautiful red wigglers. That's a pretty good shot of them right there. Doing fantastic. Yep, they're enjoying this corrugated cardboard, and you can see they're even in the layers in between it. I think they like to go in those holes that are kind of made. Yep, just like that. They love to find little hidey hoes. So very cool. All right, let's go ahead and kind of spread things out. I will try to gather any of the bedding that's already in here, and we are going to set them up for a really good feeding. And we are also going to give them a lot more shredded cardboard because things look pretty moist and already lots of good castings in here. And I want to bulk this up because I want to see if I can maximize how many castings this tiny worm bin gives me. It really is the smallest producer of all my bins, but I enjoy it because it challenges me the most. It's the only bin I have that doesn't drain out the bottom in some form or fashion. So I really have to pay attention to the moisture levels. It's very easy for this thing to get overfed. It's very easy for the mite population to bloom, for me to get other kind of critter blooms in here from overfeeding or getting too acidic. So this bin really keeps me on my toes and helps me hone my craft. So let's go ahead and add some bedding. So with the startup of a new bin, I would usually put in some damp shredded cardboard, but I'm going to put in dry because this is kind of a blurred line of starting a new worm bin and ending an old worm bin. I just don't think I'm going to have those startup issues that I've had in the past when I've harvested everything and start with a blank slate. But because I've put in so much dry bedding, I'm going to give them some wet food. Now, all of the food that I feed them has been previously frozen, so you better believe in about 2 hours, this lettuce stalk is just going to be shrunken in, and they are absolutely going to go bonkers eating it. And because this worm bin only has about 1,000 worms in it, we're going to give them some super fast food here so that I can come back and check on this in maybe a week to 10 days. And I already got the signal from the executive producer to stop feeding, but I cannot resist myself. I'm going to put in this piece of avocado, and that is because I love seeing worm bins within worm bins. The worms are going to crowd in here, and it's going to be so cool when we check in on this next time. And now she's really mad at me, but I can't resist putting in some dried goji berries.
I'm not mad.
Okay, so she's not mad, but she's probably disappointed. This is just some worm chow, just expired grains from my pantry that I blend up in my magic bullet blender, and that's also what I blend my coffee grounds in. I've got some links in the description and pinned comment if you're interested to see any of the worm equipment that I use. And then we've got a really full coffee container. I'm just going to give them a little bit right there. And then finally some eggshell grit that they use in their gizzards to kind of grind up their food. It also acts as a buffer to stabilize the pH, especially with some of the acidic foods that go into a worm bin. All right, then we'll put a little bit more shredded cardboard right on top. And then I will add some of the stuff from the sides to bury the food scraps. I always want to bury the food scraps, even though this worm bin has these little holes and mesh over it. Still don't want to be attracting any kind of insects that might be able to make their way in here. So I always like to bury it, especially in my other bins, my outdoor bin, my urban worm bag, even my vermi hut that has a great lid on it. Check it out. I love those worms. Some banana peels and stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fill in the sides with more shredded cardboard. And then I think I am going to spray this down. So there we go. Some over there, a little bit more, some over here, a little bit more there, just like that. And then why not? Let's just put it all over it. Dump it all in. All right. This is pretty wild. This is a little different ending than I expected. So let's do that. We're going to spray it down. Now let's add our top coverings. We'll just put this on there like that. Now we didn't do it this time, but if you want to see a video of how many worms this bin can hold, check out this video right here where we counted out each and every worm in here. I promise it is more entertaining than it sounds. So now I'll just finish off with the plastic. So I hope you're having a great day. I hope your worm bins are doing fantastic. So happy vermicomposting, everybody. Take care now.